Ladies and gentlemen, every single month I do a fundraiser to keep THORnews up and running, regardless of hurricanes, volcanoes, earthquakes, or pre-World War III. If you'd like to contribute, I've only got $915 left to raise, and I've got multiple ways for you to do so. Okie dokie, now let us get to the news. Ladies and gentlemen, in my 9 years of Asteroid Fight Club, this is the closest we've ever been to World War III and total economic disaster. All right, Americans and people around the world have been doing their best to preserve over the last 2 tumultuous years, but the data suggests we're now reaching unprecedented levels of stress that will challenge our ability to cope. It is Avoid World War III, Ukraine Invasion, Day 19, and on top of all the things, including inflation and people just being stressed out to the max, China is announcing new lockdowns, and now 50 million people there are going to be shut in to their home for a while as the virus continues to super break out in major ways in Hong Kong and China. And right now, the Cold War between the West and the East, or the United States of America and Europe and Russia, is lukewarm, but the economic warfare is full tilt. And so, like, we are seeing shit at unprecedented levels, while a bunch of the economic situations we've never really fixed or corrected over the last 20 years are all coming to a head. And then you have, like, cyber attack city. Here, Israeli government websites crash in suspected cyber attack. You got U.S. State Department issuing statements saying new sanctions on 11 Russian defense leaders. You got mines in the water off of Odessa by Ukraine. Looks like we're headed into a global recession. Here you've got these tech stocks that are at least 80% off 52-week highs, including Robinhood. And remember, just like Lehman Brothers took a couple months for it to really blow up, all these sanctions that, like, Russia getting hit with, or like Russia's now like stopping exports of grain, you know, the lockdowns in China, like, are going to cause major supply chain shocks again. I want to remind you that Asteroid Fight Club's purpose is to help avoid World War III and prevent civilization from collapsing, and these are definitely the craziest days I've ever known. Here, Rita Kuniva says, in the spring of 1995, after the Russian military had their rude awakening in Grozny, one Russian colonel said of the campaign, "Today we are fighting according to principle. We have the strength, so brains are not needed." And she thinks about this quote all the time. I just heard it, and I will probably think about it quite a lot in the future as well. Kyiv Independent reporting, retired U.S. Army general believes Russia will exhaust their ability to fight within 10 days. Ben Hodges, former commander of the U.S. Army in Europe, told CBS News that Russia is running out of time, ammunition, and manpower as a quick operation has turned into a war of attrition. And yesterday there were reports that there was a missile attack 10 miles away from the Poland border. And remember, Ukraine is not a NATO member, but Poland is definitely a NATO member. They became a full-fledged member in 1999. And then just 2 hours ago, Ukrainian Air Force claiming in a statement on Telegram that a Russian drone crossed into Poland before going back into Ukraine and being shot down by air defenses. So, like, every day the war continues. Every day there's a chance a mistake will be made, and the USA and Russia will be dragged into a full-fledged nuclear war where, like, everybody dies. We do not want that. And so I am maintaining my optimism that God is great and somehow civilization will continue and make it past this very tense moment in history. And, you know, I got the prediction wrong. I didn't think Putin would invade because it seemed like such a dumb choice with low upside. And especially to think to end, you know, at the very hopefully tail end of a pandemic, the idea that, like, you would then have your military go, all right, go fight a war you don't want to fight. That, I don't know, it just made no sense. And then, like I said, now with China locking down and Hong Kong having major disaster hit it as well, it's just, this is the time the countries should be working together, as supply chains are weak as hell. But no, that's not how things are going. And in March, I got out of the house quite a bit so far, and like everybody I've talked to, my basic assessment is that nobody really knows what's going to happen next or how this is going to end. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said negotiations with Russia will continue on Tuesday. Remember, Russia swore to everybody before the invasion that they were not going to invade, and then invaded. And so that's the thing with dishonest people, is once they've lied to you once or twice, you never really trust anything they say again. So who knows how this is going to turn out. The Russian people seem to be against the war. Here you see someone came on, to the Russia TV show to protest the war. Russians do not seem to be, the public people do not seem to be in favor of the war. Her sign says, "No war, stop the war. Do not believe propaganda. They tell you lies here." Russians against the war. You have the Turkish Defense Ministry saying that NATO will hold the extraordinary defense ministers meeting on Ukraine on March 16th. And remember, we got 6 days left in astrological 2021, so I'm not surprised that like Pfizer and Elon are trending on Twitter. Elon earlier today said that he would fight Putin in Thunderdome for Ukraine. And it has been sad and sickening to watch, on day 19 of that, like, Ukraine has just been getting pounded with missiles and artillery. We're currently living in the brief moment between when finance and economy Twitter has realized that the new COVID lockdowns in Shenzhen are going to have hugely bad consequences for U.S. inflation, but that has not yet become a widely reported conventional wisdom. So it's just so weird to be in like an economic war and then have major lockdowns rolling in one of the most populous countries in the world. I mean, before all this started, China had a major real estate troubles, and the stalwart showing here that high yield Chinese real estate dollar bonds are just continuing to implode. A lot of things are imploding as inflation is exploding. CNBC, as Russia nears a debt default, because they may be defaulting on their debts and their bonds. Now the talk turns to global contagion, which I think is probably going to happen or is happening. And we are in a very unstable point and period. And that's the whole thing, is like, if you want to, it takes time, effort, blood, sweat, tears to build buildings and cities and towns and artworks, and to have all this shit destroyed in like a 3-week period because you want to rule it, that just doesn't make any sense to me. You have the Taiwan Defense Ministry say 13 Chinese Air Force planes entered Taiwan's air defense zone on Monday. And then the operator of Ukraine's power grid said Russian forces have again damaged the power line to Chernobyl's nuclear power plant. And if you remember on like the 4th or the 5th where we had that scare, I spent a couple hours listening to nuclear experts argue with each other. And, it could be like worst case scenario, worse than Chernobyl. And then it's like 3 Mile Island. And then crap, I forgot the third one. But it's just, like creating a dirty bomb where you shit and eat is a bad idea. And as Zoya said, cash isn't king. Learn the true value of everyday items when what's missing isn't purchasing power, but the stuff you wish to purchase. Sometimes the cheapest items are worth the most. Sidebar, of course, Dolly Parton is awesome. Back to the subject, Haley Britsky, nearing the 3 weeks mark of Russian invasion of Ukraine, almost all of Russia's advances remain stalled. So the lockdowns and the Ukraine war could definitely endanger the global food security. And if you've ever seen the old movie Wolverines, the Ukrainians remind me of like the fighting spirit where they're fighting for their land, they're fighting for their children, they're fighting for their homes. And so they have been, putting up one hell of a fight and definitely do not seem like backing down anytime soon or surrendering. Foxconn, an Apple component supplier, will temporarily shut down operations in Shenzhen, China, amid a surge in COVID cases. A number of other tech companies will be affected by the lockdown, including Huawei, Omicron, another supplier of Apple. And then, like, Elon tweeted this out earlier today. I guess that's in response to his baby mama, who he broke up with when she was 6 months pregnant. That blows my mind, man. Is now dating Chelsea Manning. And I don't know, sometimes breakups can be hard and drive people a little crazy over the emotional edge. And yeah, after the last few years we've had, technically everybody's crazy right now, but I'm definitely glad that I'm not going through a bad breakup. Paul Mason to Timi Foy Malavanov. Russia has destroyed about 15 to 20% of food warehouses around Kiev. Russia targets medical facilities and warehouses. So everything's not good right now in the whole, like, and then there's like a whole giant fight between hackers. Some hackers support Russia, some support Ukraine. Both apparently have a large hacker component to their population. The Kremlin on Monday said that Russia's doing great and Russian forces could take full control of major Ukrainian cities, and it had sufficient military clout to fulfill all of its aims in Ukraine without any help from China, because there are reports that Russia asked China for help, as like tons of countries are giving Ukraine help. China does not have any as many allies, it doesn't seem. And remember, even if they take control of the major cities, then they have to hold the major cities. Carol Masser, China's COVID lockdowns could threaten half the economy. And like I said, having lockdowns and we outsource a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is made in China for the USA and across the globe. It's just a bad situation across the board. Inflation continues to skyrocket. Sylvia, China is locking down Shenzhen, which is where they manufacture, checks notes, everything. Yeah, dude, it's like everything's a bad scene right now. You're seeing wild gyrations in commodities. Nickel's massive price spike plunged the industry into chaos, triggering billions in losses. That was just like 2 days ago. And then the Russian stock market has been closed for like 2 weeks and will be closed through this week. So this is definitely the craziest times we've ever known. And we are on the brink, though I think we'll make it through somehow magically, because God is great, but everything's weird about it. Like the whole messing with the nuclear power plants. Anyway, I super duper absolutely love and appreciate you, Asteroid Flight Club, and I do think somehow we'll pull through. But hey, I was wrong about the invasion, and so who knows? Nobody knows how many minutes, days, or hours we have left on the planet. So smoke them if you got them, and enjoy all the finer little things that come with family, friends, and civilization, is my opinion. And remember, all the global markets are interconnected, so no matter what, we're going to start to see major waves from all the economic stuff butterfly effect out. And if Russia does sovereign default, that will affect like everything. It'll be much like, so it can get it can get a whole lot crazier, man. So, but let's hope, like I said, 6 days left in 2021, and it's definitely been a wild and crazy year. So let us pray for peace and, have an amazing spring and have an amazing summer. And hopefully we can get past a lot of the things that have been dragging us down the last few years, the last few decades, or even the last few thousand years. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I am your Planetary Defense Commander, Star-Lord New Thor 7. Hang in there, buddy. And if you'd like to support me so I can continue to do what I do, you know how to do it. Only $915 left to raise for March. Thank you to Joel, Robert, Ricks, and everybody in Asteroid Fight Club. I love y'all. Everybody stay cool. Have a great week, and I will talk to you in the near future. Tomorrow is the Ides of March, so it's going to be probably a weird week, man. So stay cool and keep a sense of humor. God bless everyone. Please let love rule.